All right, let's dive into what might be one of the most explosive leaks in modern history. We're talking about a document that suggests the Pentagon has completely lost control of its biggest, most important secret. This is the story of the day a top military intelligence official tried to get a look inside a hidden U.S. program and was basically told to get lost.
You do not have a need to know. Just think about that for a second. That is the stunning rejection allegedly handed to one of the most powerful figures in all of U.S. military intelligence. I mean, imagine having the highest security clearances on the planet and being told, nope, not for you, by the very system you're supposed to be in charge of. So, who could possibly get a denial like that?
Well, the man who got stonewalled was Vice Admiral Thomas Wilson. And at the time, he was the director of the entire Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA. Now, this isn't just some high-ranking officer, okay? This is the guy in charge of all foreign military intelligence for the Pentagon, and he got shut out of a U.S. program.
So how on earth do we even know any of this happened? It's not like it's in some official government report. Nope. This entire story comes to us from 15 pages of notes that were supposedly taken during a super-secret meeting years after the fact. A meeting that was never, ever meant to see the light of day.
And the timeline here is really key to understanding how this all played out. So, the main event, the denial, that happens way back in 1997. But it's not until 5 years later, in 2002, that this secret conversation about it even takes place. And then, crickets for 17 years, until 2019, when the notes from that meeting finally leak and, well, create the firestorm we're still dealing with today. So these notes were apparently taken by a Dr. Eric Davis. He's an astrophysicist and a defense contractor. And he was documenting a conversation he had with a now retired and apparently a deeply shaken Admiral Wilson. And get this, their meeting spot? The back of a parked car in Las Vegas. You know, a place chosen because literally no one would ever think to look for them there. And what were they talking about? Well, according to those notes, Wilson confirmed he'd gone hunting for a deeply, deeply buried special access program. That's a government project with security that's way beyond top secret. Its alleged purpose? To handle the technology from retrieved, non-human craft. He actually found the program, but the door was slammed shut in his face.
And this brings us to the absolute heart of the memo. The really shocking claim. It's the reason why a 3-star admiral, the head of the whole DIA, was completely powerless to get inside a US program.
It's the logical next question, right? I mean, if the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency couldn't get in, who on God's green earth were the gatekeepers? Who has that kind of power? Well, the answer is probably not what you're thinking.
The memo claims the entire thing, the physical assets, the tech, the whole shebang, had been handed over to a private company decades earlier. And what that did was brilliant, in a way. It put everything behind a corporate firewall, creating this perfect shield from any kind of government oversight or public curiosity.
And here's the bureaucratic magic trick that makes it all work. See, a normal government program, it's got to answer to Congress. It's subject to things like the Freedom of Information Act, but you privatize it, you call it a waived program, and suddenly it's a black hole. No oversight, no public records, no questions. You get nothing.
So here's the alleged 4-step recipe for total secrecy. Step 1, the government gets its hands on an asset. Step 2, they immediately pass it off to a private defense contractor. Step 3, that contractor sets up what's called a waived, unacknowledged special access program. And boom, the final result is total immunity, a secret kept safe from literally everyone, including the parts of the government that are supposed to be in charge.
So when Admiral Wilson started pushing, trying to get access, he wasn't told no by another general or a military superior. According to the memo, he was shut down by the program's Corporate Watch Committee, a group of private sector executives who allegedly threatened his rank and his entire career if he didn't just drop it. But what happens when a secret is kept too well? According to the memo, this extreme secrecy came with a huge price tag. It didn't just hide the program, it created one that was fundamentally broken and spinning out of control.
Wilson apparently learned that the contractors were failing, big time. They were struggling with the technology. The notes claim that because the program was so walled off to stop any leaks, they couldn't bring in the outside scientists and brainpower they desperately needed. The whole reverse engineering effort was basically a dud.
The memo uses this perfect analogy to describe the problem. It says their progress was like giving a smartphone to a caveman. Think about that. The contractors had the hardware, the physical object, but without open, collaborative science, they had absolutely no idea how the operating system worked. The very secrecy that was meant to protect the program was actually suffocating it.
And look, this whole story, which started in a car in Vegas back in 2002, is more relevant right now than it has ever been. Why? Because the claims in this old memo are almost identical to the sworn testimony we're hearing from high-level whistleblowers in Congress today. They're making the exact same allegations, that private defense contractors are illegally hiding the stuff from any kind of government oversight. So all of this, it all leads to this profound and frankly deeply unsettling question that's right at the heart of the Wilson-Davis memo. It really forces us to rethink who we believe holds the real power.
I mean, if this document is the real deal, it paints a pretty incredible picture, doesn't it? That the most important discovery in all of human history isn't being studied for the benefit of all of us? No, it's being treated like a corporate trade secret, like a private asset, locked away in some company vault, way beyond the reach of democratic control or even real scientific progress.
And that leaves us with one final, unavoidable question. If the claims in this memo are true, if the Pentagon itself was cut out of the loop on its own biggest secret, then who is actually in charge?